I will hit go live.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. You are live.
Alrighty, let's start with the roll call.
Crouch.
Present from East.
Houston. Croom.
Present remotely from Leland, Michigan, Leelanau County.
Kruger.
Present from East Lansing.
Yonkis. Walsh.
Present, East Lansing. Very well.
Quinn. Perfect. Thank you. Quinn.
Present, also remotely from East Lansing in Clinton County.
Thank you. Frank Hepfer and Greg. And I just wanted to indicate that both Frank Hepfer and Greg had shared that they would be unable to attend this week. They are with their families on vacation. I am Amy Schlesler-Schmidt. I am logging in from East Lansing, Michigan and Ingham County. And could any other staff, I think Adam's on the line, just share where they're logging in as well.
Adam Cummins, East Lansing, Michigan, Ingham County.
Great. Okay. Madam Chairperson, you do have quorum.
Great. Perfect. Let's move on to approval of the agenda. Are there any changes?
I have no changes to the agenda today.
I will motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
Excellent. I will do a roll call vote. This is for approval of the agenda. Crouch.
Yes.
Croom.
Yes.
Kruger.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Quinn.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Great. 1.3, approval of the March 2nd DMB meeting.
And these are the proposed minutes, as has been the last couple of months. The Downtown Management Board did meet virtual via Zoom. And I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have about the minutes.
I'll move to approve.
I'll support.
I will conduct a roll call vote. Crouch.
Yes.
Croom.
Yes.
Kruger.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Quinn.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Awesome. Okay. Now to communications. Are there any written communications?
I did not have any written communication submitted this month.
Okay, then 2.2, consideration to limit public comment to 2.
So I know that we've discussed this for actually a year now, because the first virtual meeting was the Downtown Management Board meeting, is a bit of history for all of you, and it was a year ago. But per the city attorney's recommendation, given that we are holding these meetings virtually, it is consideration that we limit public comment to 2 minutes per individual, just in respect of meeting length. So that is for your consideration today.
Support.
Second.
I will conduct a roll call vote to limit public comment to 2 minutes per individual. Crouch.
Yes.
Croom.
Yes.
Today is the planning day.
Kruger.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Quinn.
Yes.
Excellent. The motion passes. I do not see any callers on our attendees list.
Okay.
And so
We can open it up anyway, just
Yes.
in case nobody's on the line, so we can close it and move on to communications from staff.
Yes. So I actually wanted to defer to Adam Cummins. Adam is joining us today and has a couple of updates on projects and activities he'd like to share.
Thanks, Amy. Hello, everybody. All right. So I just want to discuss the staycation. You know, I love the idea, and I don't want to dismiss the idea. I actually want it to come to fruition. I'm just, you know, having some concerns, you know, about the success of it. And it basically comes down to two things. One, capacity on our side to be able to devote enough hours to plan. And then two, the amount of engagement that we are getting from downtown businesses. And I don't mean that specific to staycation, but, you know, just broadly. You know, we've been trying really hard to help market and promote a lot of different activities, challenges, this, that, and other. But, you know, we've got to acknowledge that the engagement has been low. And for whatever reason, I'm not sure what that is. And so I'm just wondering if we can have an open discussion about pausing the staycation just for now, and kind of regrouping, because we have several things moving parts going on here. And one of them, you know, I want to address how can we get re-engaged with the businesses? How can we meet their needs? If you look at the surveys we pushed out regarding the staycation, and heck, the surveys I've pushed out on some of the activities I'm doing, I'm not getting a lot of responses. And again, I don't know the reason for that. I can only make assumptions that I'm not going to, you know, go down that hole on. But it's something that I really feel strongly that we need to address for not just a staycation, but a lot of things. And so I say that because, again, the capacity issues, Amy's been slammed with CBD, I can't even pronounce it, Community Development Block Grant. We have a lot going on with that. We want to get Gabby up to speed to start running some subcommittee meetings to help with that capacity. And then we have Marissa, who's been doing the social media and is starting a new approach that we recently discussed. But then also, you know, we've partnered with MSU's Integrated Campaigns Advertising course. That professor has actually volunteered to come work with us this summer and help us put together a strategy, a branding campaign, an image campaign. And I think that if we can, through that campaign and those efforts, we can address this gap between, you know, what we're doing and then the engagement with the businesses on some of this stuff, that will be in a lot better place for the staycation. And so with that, I'd like to have an open discussion, get your thoughts on what I just said. Don't speak all at once.
Well, kind of difficult to react. I think you made a great observation in terms of the businesses not interacting or not being engaged potentially, and framing the question as to why that might be. I can't speak to why that might be. I've always noticed, I don't know how long I've been on this thing, but I've always noticed that we don't get a lot of interaction with the businesses. Now, staff can go out and speak with them and go door to door and make phone calls and emails, but it doesn't seem like folks get overly involved. They may be excited and appreciate what's being done behind the scenes. So I'm trying to remember my political science days from undergrad, but you know, it could be a positive apathy. That, you know, things are fine and they appreciate what we're doing, or maybe they just say, okay, if you know, doing a few ads and it's COVID time, and you know, doing a few, doing a few, doing what they can in terms of, bringing people downtown. But I don't have an answer for you, Adam. And I think we might be looking at, if we did the staycation, looking at it not working out the way we think it might, if that's what you're talking about. So,
Yeah, my question.
I don't know how to cure it. How's the prof going to cure it? You think he's going to come and work with us to see what might be leading to the lack of engagement, or is he doing a different thing to try and the result of what he does will garner more engagement?
I think it's going to be one key component of it, but just observing that, my approach to some things is I think I'm lacking communicating to folks the how and why on some things, because I do go door to door, and once I have that discussion on really the why are we doing a Mass Madness challenge? A lot of people think it's just geared towards the e-gift card. It is, but it isn't. It's about the marketing and promotion of the businesses in downtown, and promoting our e-gift card program and promoting safe behavior, stuff like that. And once I've had a conversation with several folks about that, and they kind of understood the why behind the Mass Madness Challenge, then I saw them starting to promote and then cross promote, and then the communities getting involved in promoting their business. And so I think just looking at myself, that there's some things that I can improve upon on that. But again, without really getting a great sense of the barriers that I can help overcome to have better engagement, I don't want to speak and assume, that that's just a blanket thing going on out there. I think the staycation is a great idea. I really do. I'm a believer in it, and I want to do it. I just want it to be as successful as it can be. And then looking at the survey results, I think we have 4 businesses, Amy, that are wanting to partner on that. It's a pretty
correct.
low turnout, and so Mike.
Yeah, so I think if I had to guess, you're probably seeing a lot of apathy from business owners who are not necessarily wanting to take the time or put the effort into actually creating, because I think with that one you wanted specific events. You wanted each business to come up with an idea of like something that they could do to help people stay in town, or something along those lines, or some specials, or whatever the case, so that the city could promote on our behalf, on the business's behalf. And so you're going to run into some apathy with that, because number one, a lot of us can't afford to do specials at this moment, because we're barely, getting what we can get as far as customers as it is. And number two, you're asking them to put in time and effort into something that they might just not have the time to do, frankly. I can only speak for myself and what I've got going on in this business. Not to mention the 15 other boards that I'm on or whatever, but I just don't necessarily have time to come up with that kind of stuff to try to get people engaged. And frankly, I don't know that it's going to make it, as much as I want to do it to sort of help the city as a whole. I don't see it as being something that's going to actually benefit my business. That's not to say that it wouldn't benefit downtown as a whole, but when people are strapped for time and resources, and struggling to staff, like where we are right now, it's sort of that kind of stuff gets put on the back burner. And so I don't know, a lot of it could be timing, and I don't know, that's just some initial thoughts.
So I'm sorry.
Can I just say one thing on that real quick? My question is, when you say that you don't see it benefiting your business directly, are you meaning doing an event for staycation, or the idea of the event altogether, like as a whole, or like the micro events?
When I say that, like to, submit the specials that we might have going on that day anyway, or creating a new special, I don't see that as much of a benefit to the business. That's not to say that I couldn't take the time to do it, just to have something on the docket to sort of create a larger more businesses that are participating in the event, per se. But no, I don't specifically see it as a benefit to Crunchies specifically. So.
In the back, on the desk, on the right.
So with the staycation, what are your thoughts? Or would you guys be comfortable with pressing pause for now until we hash some things out?
Okay, so I have a couple other points that I think might be relevant to that. I think that the other reason a lot of apathy from business owners, I agree with what Mike is saying, that there might not be a return for like the sort of micro event or micro portion of the staycation for the business. Not necessarily that bringing people downtown East Lansing could benefit. But I also think that business owners in the past, we haven't necessarily, and I don't mean just in the last recent time, but in the long term, businesses haven't necessarily always felt a return on any of the events that we do. There are many of them that we have tried to push in the past that haven't necessarily ever really panned out to be mass successes. And so I think part of the apathy comes from just lack of results in the past on different things. Also, I know that there are different opinions, with business owners feeling, I think COVID has really made people kind of overwhelmed as a business owner, and that it's not for a lack of want for people to come downtown or to their businesses or things like that, just more of a complete, like, I don't even know what to do anymore, and therefore we do not a lot. Like we're doing what we can to get by and make it work, but sorry, there's a spider. But not necessarily trying to be, a lot of people aren't necessarily super positive right now and excited. And I think that that's something to keep in mind. And the only other point I'll make is that I don't necessarily think that this success of this event is solely based upon business involvement. Yes, I think business involvement is a great help. In the end, it's about what can we excite. What we have failed in the past is to excite the public to want to participate in something. And I think even if there aren't a ton of things that necessarily are on a micro level for businesses to do for people, I think the concept of getting out and going and spending time in downtown alone may be something that people may want to do. I'm not opposed to necessarily postponing it or anything like that. Just my 2 cents on whether this is a success, I don't think is necessarily dependent on what the businesses also bring to the table. It's going to be more based upon what the public thinks of whether they want to participate or not.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Which I think kind of goes hand in hand. I think the more involvement you get from businesses, then the more excitement you're going to get out of the public, and they're going to say, "Oh, I have this and this to do." So, I'm fine with suspending it, if you will, as long as we have a plan of what we need to do. It's not that in 6 months we get back together and we say, "Okay, hey, you know what? We're going to do this next week. What do we think?" I think sometimes we say, "Let's do this. What do you think about doing this like next week?" And then we ask the business once what they're going to do. And, like Mike said, there were times where you're like, "Oh, hey, I know I got to do this. I know I got to do this." But things come up and you don't have time to do it. And so if you have, I feel like maybe if we're saying, "Hey, you know what, we're doing this in a year," which obviously people are going to forget about it because it's a year. But if we can kind of bounce ideas off people in the meantime and keep firing stuff at them and saying, "Hey, we got to have something, we got to do something. We want to make this a success." But I just don't want to back burner it and then bring it back up and say, "Okay, let's try it again with."
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And just so you know, what's going on in this head of mine is not putting it on back burner for a year and actually doing it at some point this summer. It's just a matter of, we're wrapping up market days, and then we're getting ready to really go hard on outdoor activities, park lit systems going in, a lot more furniture, lighting, and then all these small scale pop-up events that we're piloting. We don't know if they're going to work. We don't know. We just don't know. And then from those lessons learned, and then having the infrastructure in place, and then bringing on the professor, getting Gabby and Marissa really solid, you know, because their semester's coming in and they'll be able to put more hours in. I think we'll have a lot better understanding on the planning of what we need to do to plan a successful staycation for this summer. And I'm just asking to put it on pause. Let us get caught up to speed with some things. However, if you guys are really set on it, then I don't want to come in here and step on toes. That's the last thing I want to do. I want to work together. I want to have this open dialogue. The feedback I've received so far has been great. So please, let's continue this conversation. Let me know what you think. Chanel, what do you think? Would you be okay with pressing pause for a little bit? Mike, Corey.
I don't have a problem with pressing pause. The only other thing about it, like Corey said, not wanting to put it on the back burner, but also I don't want to set arbitrary I am afraid that there may not be business excitement in 3 months, or, you know, we may not get to what a level that we are necessarily wanting from business involvement. And I don't want that to turn into a long-term dictating goal of attempting to try and do things that could get them re-engaged in doing stuff in downtown East Lansing. So that's the only thing I would like to do it at some point. And then and I think the summer might be that would be fine, but I don't want to say in July, we're like, well, we can't do it because the businesses still aren't excited. And then that, I think, can lead to a cycle of then just not trying things that can help.
I agree. And I'm hearing you. And just for clarity, it's not so much the business's lack of excitement. I'm at this point, what would our staycation look like? What are we offering people, right? I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what we're
right. I don't have a problem with postponing it. I just want to make sure that I don't want to start a precedent of the events that we try, because we try to do a lot of different things, and we've been trying to reinvent what we have done in the past and do things like that. And I don't want those things to be solely dictated based upon excitement at the beginning, because I think that sometimes people are pleasantly surprised as business owners in the end with them. So I just don't want that to become like a precedent for what we try, because we're in a position where we kind of have to try whatever we can.
Oh, I agree with that, Chair, for sure.
And as long as we, I guess, address the underlying issue, which is the involvement of the businesses downtown. I mean, like you said, we send a survey out and we get 4 people to respond. I mean, I think that's the big issue here is why are we not, what do we need to do to get more involvement and get more voices and get more people, you know, sending emails with ideas or coming to meetings or doing stuff like that. I think that's the big issue. And I think we've had an issue with that for a long time. I don't think we can say COVID has anything to do with that, because when we were doing surveys before, we were getting a pretty low response back. And I don't know if they're not going to the right people or what we need to do on that, but I think that's a big miss there too.
Yeah, and Corey, that's my understanding. You know, based on what I'm learning, is it's just been a historical thing, right? That interaction, that engagement. So I just feel like we're at a place where we have no other choice but to make this work and fix this problem, and now's a good opportunity to do so. And then. So that, with that being said, you know, we're doing we're trying these small scale pop-up events, and everything's still being hashed out. But if you guys want to consider, when we put a park lid on the street, what could D&B, what kind of little pop-up event could they do to test the waters, if you will? It's there for you. You know, we're partners in this. You guys weren't only, didn't even just donate to the campaign, but you guys are our partners. And I think the more we can align the D&B and DDA with what's going on, the better off we're going to be, especially when it comes to marketing and promotion and stuff of that nature.
Well,
I agree with I think almost everybody, which is kind of strange, but I think that postponing it would probably be a good idea for now, and with looking at it more in the future. I think it's certainly something that's good to have, to try to get people to come into downtown East Lansing. But this may not exactly be the right time for it. Possibly towards the end of the year, that may be a little bit better. So that's. But Mike's and Chanel both have good points, and particularly with the staffing that we have issues right now, and the response that we've had from the surveys. There's maybe time to kind of delay it a little bit and see what we can come up with, or see what else can be suggested.
I agree. And so, I mentioned Gabby and Marissa, they're kind of wrapping up this semester. They're going to be able to have more hours starting in May. And so Chair and Board, I was wondering, would you guys have any problems if we canceled the subcommittee meetings for April and then launch those back up in May? And in between now and then, we're going to get Gabby and Marissa caught up to speed on how to run and facilitate those meetings.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm not on the marketing meeting, so I don't know what they're working on, but it looks like they didn't have a meeting this month, I guess. So that's fine. We were just have been working on ideas for the events, so that's fine.
Is there really only like 2 or 3 of us on every committee? Or are there a lot more people that just don't show up to the meetings?
Yeah, that certainly seems to be the case. It would be okay with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there are more people on each meeting, but not everybody shows up to each one.
Are there any other questions, concerns that I could address at this moment? I'll take the silence as a no. I appreciate you guys' time and flexibility, and I'll be in touch in April and let you know our game plan moving forward. Sound good?
Thanks for the observations.
Cool.
And
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Alrighty. Moving on to the board member comments, 2.5. Does anybody have, and watch out, Oakley, anything that they would like to say? Mike?
I guess I have a comment, just kind of going along those same lines of, I guess, participation in general in the DMB and or the subcommittees. And I guess I haven't looked at the attendance report lately, and I know that I missed last month's meeting, so I can't talk a whole lot myself, but it just kind of feels like participation is lacking, I guess, for a better term. And I don't know if are there requirements the members have to attend a certain number of meetings per year, a certain number of subcommittee meetings per year, that sort of thing. And if so, are there people that are near those limits, so to speak, of not attending meetings? And if so, do we need to find replacements for people who aren't actually involved?
I think that there are requirements for board member meetings, but I do not believe that there are any mandatory requirements for the subcommittee meetings. But I wouldn't be opposed to, kind of, I would agree on the participation sentiment. I don't think that we can require people to show up to the board meetings, or to the subcommittee meetings, but I think I don't know of a solution, I guess. I don't know I know that it's difficult for people to make a lot of meetings, but I don't know if it would make more sense to kind of make those one longer meeting that we can talk about both things, so that It's not like I have a hard time making it to the marketing meetings just because of the timing with being home with my kids, and it not falling during nap time. But like potentially if we did like 1 hour and a half long subcommittee meeting, maybe that could be a better solution. So people aren't trying to find multiple days in a month to do. That's like 3 days right now. I don't know. That's just a suggestion. But
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. That, you think about the committee meetings and they're sparsely attended, and it feels like they could be repetitive. It feels like, the items that they deal with. I know there's a lot of brainstorming and sort of foundational issues that come out of those meetings, but maybe they don't need to be regular. Maybe they can be, on occasion as needed. And then we can, as you say, Chanel, lengthen these meetings if we need to cover a topic that would be handled, maybe in both committees. We could just devote a half an hour to it with the massive brain power of the full board engaged on the issue. That might be a good way to go. And then I guess the second item might be to have, I don't know if it would be board members reaching out to the other board members or staff just to touch base and see with the folks who might be challenged in terms of devoting time. Just reach out and ask, what's going on, what's up, and, in a nice way, and see how they're feeling about it. And that would be, then they can get a reaction. Oh gosh, I just don't have the time. Maybe I should get out, or here's what I see happening. And, it's always hard to reach out. I hate to put this on Amy, but, maybe we need to do that for folks that haven't been here. There's probably an underlying reason that it wouldn't hurt to know.
I think right now that we have, if you miss 3 meetings, you're basically not considered to be on the board anymore. Is that correct? In a given year's time?
Yes, I believe that that's correct. I was just glancing at the requirements. I think that's correct, right?
Is there any way that can be changed to make it 4 meetings, or that might help out a little bit, at least for a while?
Doesn't that kind of go exactly against what the issue is? Then?
So
yeah,
I believe that
more
policy.
meetings.
I apologize. I believe that policy is set by City Council, but I'm happy to confirm that. I believe that that is a policy resolution that was approved by City Council.
I don't really have an interest in extending the amount of meetings that people can miss. So I don't really think I personally don't think that we need to allow people to miss more meetings. I would rather, if we're going to look into that, make it less. But I do know how sometimes it can be difficult to make a meeting. I think that really, though, to be frank, I think that sometimes when people participate in the meeting, sometimes there's lack of participation or things like that. So sometimes I feel like that can be a thing. So I don't know if we limited the amount of meetings and I don't necessarily think maybe making the board meeting longer is the right answer. Maybe just combining the subcommittee meetings and letting people drop in and out, like if they can come to part of it or whatever. I don't know, but I feel like that whenever we have a good conversation about things, it's not every time we have a meeting. So if we have less meetings and they're more in depth, then we may be able to get more participation out of people. Not just by attendance, but also like active participation in the meetings too. We have
okay,
rules,
well, it was
whether they have to be separate.
So I am, as we're speaking, I'm just pulling up our bylaws, and what I see right now, and of course I'd want to consult with the city attorney's office, but it just says regular meetings of the board shall be held at a time and place set by the board at its annual meeting, which is what we do every year. Notice of regular meetings shall be published. The board's records and minutes will be kept and made available to the public in accordance with Michigan Open Meetings Act. So I think, to everyone's point, if this group decided, for example, to either merge the committees together or the subcommittees together, or said, let's just hold subcommittee meetings every other month, I think that there is some flexibility here based on what I am reading.
Okay, well, that sounds good to me. I was just wondering, trying to figure out a good way to keep everybody happy, which of course doesn't work, but longer meetings sometimes make it more challenging for some of us who actually are still trying to run our businesses here in downtown East Lansing. But we'll see, I guess we'll just see what happens, and but I'm not going to make any proposals to change that at all. So we'll just keep going.
Well, I think Michael made a good point. It's a nice dovetail, as he said, off the other issue of business participation is board participation. And, if we can't lead in that regard, then we need to figure out what to do. And I'm still not clear on what the professor is going to do, but maybe that would be part of our introspective look and to see what that person might recommend. Not like we need a consultant or anything. We know if there's lack of participation, there's an issue. But I think the general understanding is if a person, I can't seem to find boards that pay me any money. So we're all in a volunteer situation, which is great. I mean, I appreciate everybody's civic time, even if they're challenged on making all the meetings. But if folks are going to agree to sit on the board, it's more or less understood or tradition that you not only are able to make the requisite number of meetings, but also be an active participant. So that may just mean finding other folks. And again, maybe the first step is reaching out to folks and see if they're still interested in serving. And if so, have this discussion with those individuals. I don't know.
Should start publishing the attendance report again. That was always entertaining.
I also definitely think since we haven't been meeting in person, I think that definitely impacts participation both ways too. I know it's easier to hop on a Zoom call, but it's also easier to miss it because your face isn't shown, right? You're not like sitting at a meeting, so it's easier to just be like, guess I won't. I don't know. So and that's not something we can change, obviously, but that's also worth noting. But I don't know, Amy, have you looked at the attendance report recently?
I did glance at the attendance report. I can do a more thorough review. I think the other thing that's happened is I think we have had quorum, obviously, at board meetings, but subcommittee attendance is certainly down. We've always made sure, Chanel is correct, that subcommittee, there's not a requirement for necessarily for attending all of the subcommittees, but we've always tried to have 4 or 5 people at each subcommittee, frankly 3 to 5 at least, just to kind of make it worth everybody's while. I am happy though to more thoroughly review the attendance report, and I don't know if this is a discussion, I know that both the subcommittees will be canceled in April, but if this is something the board kind of wants to further discuss in May, like give some people some time to kind of think about, we can certainly reach out to the board members that have not been as present during the most recent board meetings. That's no problem at all, unless board members would like to do that. It's really kind of at the discretion of the board at this point, but certainly I think that there is flexibility if this group decides that they want to change the meeting frequency. I think that that's something that we can absolutely accommodate, so that there's not as many meetings. Three meetings a month is significant, so.
Yeah, the hard part is we're getting the same people at the same 3 meetings. So we discuss something at one meeting and then we go to the next meeting and discuss it. And then by the 3rd meeting, people are like, you know what, I don't, we've discussed it, we've beat it to death, I don't need to attend, because we're not getting any other business involvement or any outside feedback from anything to say, hey, here's ideas, or here's what, why this worked or didn't work, or why we didn't participate. So And I don't know how to fix that, unfortunately, but it sounds like Adam maybe might have some ideas of how to get more involvement with the businesses. So if they can start coming to subcommittees, then we can have more in-depth conversations instead of just, you know, seems like the 4 of us, 5 of us are the same 5 over and over again that are discussing things. Which is not that I don't want to see you guys 3 times a month, but.
I'm here just so everybody knows, but I have to get my son out of bed for a second and he's not happy. So if you guys want to continue talking about this, I'm listening, I promise.
So is this, I guess, based on, like, I think this is all great feedback. Like, I can say that from a staff perspective, like, in my opinion, this is great feedback. Would you like staff to come back with some recommendations for the board to consider in terms of maybe amending meeting frequency, or, you know, changing the scope of the subcommittee so that we try to engage more businesses? Is that kind of what I'm hearing? And we discuss that in more detail in May. Is that reasonable? Or is there something else you would like to see implemented? And run it by Adam?
Run it by the subcommittee. Yes, Amy.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, because I know that I joke that, like, we're always here. Staff is always here, but you know,
But it's still, it's a waste of your time.
It's a lot of prep time.
You know.
Right.
I
mean, each meeting is several hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
To prep
so,
for.
like, if you're not getting the response from the board, you know, like that, it's got to be frustrating. And you don't need to nod your head in agreement by any means, you know. But like, I can't imagine that it wouldn't be, you know. So, you know, we just want people to participate and show up, make it worth your while.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful if you guys looked at that, Amy. And I don't know, maybe this is the time for a general effectiveness and overview, sort of introspective look at what we're doing and why we think we're not getting the traction, if that's the word, that we need, either with board members or with the businesses. Maybe it's time to take a look at, you know, generally at our charge. I know no one likes strategic meetings. I'm not, well, I don't like them. You guys probably all do. But, you know, maybe staff just to give it a think, Amy,
Yeah.
And you guys circle the wagons and hit this problem head on. And if that means you talk to the prof or talk to whoever, or, you know, get together with yourselves and just think about what you might come back to us on with the brilliant ideas to solve this conundrum.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think you all like my strategic meetings when we feed you guys. I think that they were more fun when we could meet.
The meetings are very effective.
I'm just teasing. Yeah. Okay. Well, that is absolutely something that I'm happy to further discuss with Adam, and we will be prepared to talk about in May. I think that that's all great feedback. We always appreciate good feedback. So
Thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Let's move on to 3.1, brief overview of the treasurer's report.
I heard the brief, so I will be brief. Okay, so we are just beginning our 4th quarter into the fiscal year. The month of March were very typical expenditures, as always. You know, we had the direct work order salaries and benefits that primarily help support our intern positions. We did do the $29 call loop subscription that we maintained so that we can send out messages primarily via text when necessary. We did purchase the sticker decals for the e-gift card program. So all of our participating businesses should have received those that they can now place in their front windows. So it's just for those that are participating in the gift card program. As well as for the TikTok challenge, we did pay the honorable mention individuals. So for the first TikTok challenge, there was 1 grand prize and then some honorable mention people to try to gain some traction. And then for the other remaining, there will just be coming from the daytime, nighttime, anytime project, there will just be first place winners that receive a $300 downtown East Lansing gift card. Just a couple of additional things to bear in mind. So we'll have 3 more months of the call loop subscription. So that will be for $87. And then this board in May did want to further discuss the possibility of an art festival sponsorship. So that will be on your docket in May. In terms of kind of where you stand to date, as we all know, there hasn't been a lot of activity in the last couple of months, so you still have a little more than $5,000 or so in operating that you could spend to date, if you would like. Obviously, if any additional sources of revenue come in, then there's opportunity for some flexibility. I am happy to answer any questions anyone might have. Or we can.
I have no questions. Does anybody have any
Yeah.
questions?
Sounds good.
Okay. Business agenda, consideration of a recommendation to the East Lansing City Council on the continuation of our district.
Well said, Madam Chairperson. It is a mouthful. Okay, so I know that we did discuss this early at both subcommittee meetings. The proposal before you is to make a formal recommendation to the East Lansing City Council so that we can continue the operations of the Downtown Management Board. So as you're all aware, the City Council established a principal shopping district through the project of the Downtown Management Board. So in effect, it is this, legislative body that works to promote and support downtown initiatives. I feel like we've all really tried to rally and do some really successful things in light of COVID-19. We've launched an e-gift card program. We've been supportive of the Daytime, Nighttime, Anytime campaign. Just the underground market is undergoing. So, I think that we've tried to be creative in kind of all of those aspects. The recommendation at this time is that the board consider voting to maintain the assessment at its current rate. That would generate about $40,407. That is an estimate. That is what we currently collect. The city assessing office is finalizing the special assessment rule that would be presented to City Council. We don't anticipate it to change too much, to flex. So I would say by a couple of $1,000s here or there. Because we do have a couple of properties that have gone online. Obviously, the Walgreens and the Dunkin' Donuts have gone online. But if anyone is unfortunately not open, then they could certainly petition to not have to pay the special assessment at that time. The special assessment would begin for July 1, 2021, and be in effect for 2 years. So go through June 30th, 2023. And then at that time, obviously, this body could consider renewing it at the same rate or, at an increased rate or a lessened rate. The proposed motion is a recommendation to the East Lansing City Council on the continuation of the new principal shopping district special assessment, which will be Special Assessment Rule 76, to declare the project a public necessity and to receive and file Special Assessment Rule 76 for the cost of the district of the property. And so essentially this is your formal recommendation to City Council, and then City Council will hear a presentation from staff on all of the good work that we have been doing on the 20th. And then moving forward, if they are responsive to that and supportive of that, on the 27th, they will consider the formal resolution. There will be 2 formal public hearings. One would occur on May 11th, and then the second on May 25th. Before both public hearings, 2 formal notices will be printed in newspapers, and then formal letters will be sent to all property owners so that they are aware of the assessment, they're aware that the renewal is occurring, and that it's going to stay at the same rate. The Business Relations Committee did review possible verbiage in a letter, and so felt pretty comfortable with that. And then this is the enclosed roll for consideration. Because the summer tax bills go out, for July, the Finance Department would really like this all to be approved by June 1. So the hope is that by the time we begin the process with City Council and then finish it, everything would be approved and completed by May 25th. So that gives Finance 1 month to prepare all assessment bills. Does anyone have any questions for me? This is the assessment rule.
And the motion doesn't indicate a timeline. You mentioned keep it level 2 years.
Yes.
Do we need a timeline in the motion?
I think that would be great, Jim, if you wanted to add that in. I think that would be excellent.
So we're recommending it continue for 2 years?
Correct. Yep. For 2 fiscal years. I think that'd be great.
Okay, so I'll move recommendation that we approve recommendation of the City of East Lansing City Council on the continuation of the principal shopping district project special assessment to declare the project a public necessity, to receive and file special assessment roll 76 for the cost of the district property, and to maintain the assessment at a level rate for the next 2 years.
Excellent.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and I will do a roll call vote. Crouch,
Yes.
Kroom,
Yes.
Kruger,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
Quinn.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously. So staff will prepare the documentation. I can tell you that the city attorney's office has reviewed proposed recommendations and seem to be on board with the process we've followed in the past. So that's the good news. So we will prepare this information and begin the consideration of the approval process with council a little later this month.
Alrighty, sounds good. We can move on to unfinished business. Is there any?
I do not have any unfinished business today.
Okay, so committee reports, marketing committee was canceled. The business relations meeting, we talked about the staycation that we're postponing. So I don't know how much we need to get into that. Amy, we need to get into it.
No, I think that that's fine. As Chanel mentioned, you know, a lot of the focus was staycation and ideas that we had to, you know, consider to host some supplemental events in addition to sort of the main catch of giving discounts to the businesses. The one thing I guess I just did want to share board wide is that the Marriott is very supportive of this idea and this concept. And so they were very willing to offer weekends throughout the summer months. So I think that, you know, even though we're pushing this forward, the Marriott seemed very willing to partner. And we thank them for that. So that's good.
Okay, sorry, my house is going crazy right now. 6.3, the parking task force updates. Do we have any of those?
We do. And I just wanted to triple check. I don't believe Sarah is with us currently. I know that she's got a lot going on. So first of all, Caleb is just out of the office this week. As many people are aware, it is East Lansing Public Schools spring break. So I think he is spending some time with his family. But I do have a couple of quick written updates for each of you. First of all, there are plenty of parking permits currently available in the garages. And so if any of you know businesses that are kind of seeking specific reservation of spots, that is something that the parking division is happy and eager to accommodate. Evergreen Lot 8 and City Hall West Lot 15, so that is the one near the AT&T building, are closed due to construction. Tentative reopening dates are towards the end of May for Lot 15 and July for Lot 8. So Lot 8, again, is the Evergreen lot that is there. So those are the written updates that I have. And if anyone has any additional questions, I am happy to pass them along to Mr. Sharo. I'm also familiar that,
Amy,
go ahead.
sorry, do you have any update on when the construction for the sewer project will be complete there on Evergreen, the one that's running up to the neighborhood?
I do not, but I can certainly look into it for you. That's the one that's like, it's right along Evergreen, right? It's the one that's marking direct access towards the park. Sure.
Yeah, and stops Valley Court from being able to connect to
all the way through.
What is it? All the way through to.
I do not know, but I'm happy to reach out to the Department of Public Works and circle back.
Okay. Thank you.
Because I know it's been going on for several weeks, right? Probably at least a month. Yeah.
Yeah, over a month.
Are there any other parking questions. There was a parking task force meeting held earlier this month that I participated in, and a lot of the discussion was regarding the budget. And kind of, Caleb doing presentations on the formal budget, and then, recommendations for the next fiscal year. So I didn't hear any major changes at this time, but if anybody does have any particular questions, please let me know, and I'm happy to forward those on.
Great. No questions? Then DDA liaison report.
Yeah, let's see, am I unmuted? Okay. So we met on the 25th, and one of the things we approved was a contract to allow Granger to demolish the apartment building and 2 of the houses. The houses were becoming expensive to maintain. One needed major work done, and so to be cost effective in one sense and to facilitate the MSU FCU construction project, we approved that those 3 properties would be demolished. We split the cost with Granger, between the DDA and Granger, to demolish those properties. They'll do some leveling along that hill that's on Evergreen. Some of the houses are up in a hill. They'll level that a little bit and put pea stone down and so on, and then that will be their staging area. That will eventually be where the crane is located. And that solves an issue that was preventing them from moving forward in terms of Dublin Square having an issue with overhead cranes and that sort of thing in the area. We recommended an approved entertainment and liquor license for the Land Shark for the new owners. Recommended approval for the Graduate Hotel to serve alcoholic beverages up on the roof. So that's been an ongoing thing in the city for a couple months. They agreed to use plastic utensils and plastic cups up there, which, not ideal, but I think they just wanted to get it done. And so they agreed to that. And then there was support to move forward with the groovy art mural that's underneath the parking structure, I believe, is where it's located. And then on the place projects, the wall partitions and art murals at Division Street Garage are in process. The Mask Madness Challenge is completed. The Weekend Warrior that the Rotary did the past few Saturdays is done. I think that was pretty successful. And there's 2 parklet locations, as Adam mentioned, under consideration at this point for pop-up type stuff. And Where is Zeke programs preparing to launch. And we're doing an RFP for light installations. Our staff is at Bill Sharp Park and Ann Street Plaza, Marriott Plaza, and Division Street. So some additional lighting. That's my report.
Interesting stuff going on. All right, well, any other things that we need to go through? We all set?
I have nothing else for the board today.
Okay, so I will motion to adjourn.
Second.
I will do a roll call vote. Crouch,
Yes.
Kroom,
Yes.
Kruger,
Yes.
Walsh. Is Ray still with us? And Mr. Quinn.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, as well.
All right, the motion passes. Thank you all very much. So I will send cancellation notices to everyone's appointments for subcommittees, just so that you know that you have that free time for this month. And we will plan to all circle back in the month of May. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Amy. Thanks, everybody.